2024 is here.
Yeah.
And we figured we'd set the intentions for the year on the show, just as we did in 2023. And we did tape a recap episode of what 2023 taught us. And we went over the intentions that we set for that year. Some were given to us, handed to us. We did really good on some and not great on others. And I feel I want to begin by saying how a lot of people do start off with New Year's intentions with the best intention of change and transformation and growth. And then they fall short and get, I'm assuming, disappointed in themselves, throw their hands up and kind of don't follow through. I've done this before.
Yeah.
Have done it recently and always. I mean, it's funny, the calendar year of 2024, it's just a marker. I mean, every month you can set a different goal to change yourself. Exactly. So I hope that it's not discouraging to those people who start any type of transformational process and fall behind. Because of the way that our ego, the smaller self within us, wants to keep us the same and safe and comfortable, the patterns that it has created, that we create in our minds, it is really difficult to change them. And I think becoming aware of these patterns is the key to change. Because if you're not self-aware, if you don't have an understanding of these patterns that dictate our lives or your life, it's going to be hard to change it.
Yeah.
And I think one thing that I've learned immensely over the past year, if not two, is to just give myself grace. Because I fall back into patterns constantly. And it's not necessarily a bad thing.
Right. That's something that I think has been huge for me this past year, is just bringing a lot of awareness to the patterns and recognizing them. And by doing that, I realized that there's a huge distinction between setting intentions and setting resolutions or like goals. And that's like this past year was really like when we taped this episode a year ago for 2023 was the first time that I really set like intentions for the year, as opposed to like, oh, I'm going to give this up or I'm going to set this specific goal. This was like, I'm going to focus on this thing for an entire year. And with that came a lot of awareness and like paying attention to how I was doing with it. Because that's another thing. I would often set goals and resolutions, and like by the time they came to fruition or not, I'd almost like forgotten about it. Where this was different. This was like I was really focused on just paying attention to these things for the whole year. And I had some tremendous breakthroughs with all of them, with every intention that I set. And just like my level of understanding around how I was living and the patterns that were playing out became so much more clear to me that it became so much easier to make changes. And the other thing that I noticed, I'm going to keep saying like the power of intentions, is that I think when you do set an intention, it plays out.
Yeah.
And you might forget about it. You might not remember that you had set that intention. But I think when you start looking at your life with more of a bird's eye view, you start to realize like, oh, that's what that was. Like that, I thought that was a negative. I thought that things weren't working out, but it was just setting me up for the lesson that I had asked to learn or the skill I had asked to acquire. And I got a lot of that this year. So it's been really interesting. I'm excited to do it again.
Yeah. And I believe when you intend to do something, it comes, like you said, it comes to fruition. With me, patience is not always my strong suit. I am certainly getting better. And that is something that was actually an intention of last year of mine. And I will take that with me. But I've come to realize that it does take time. Growth is not linear.
Mhm.
I will take 100 steps forward, 50 steps back, only 2 steps forward. It's not, but that's the beauty of it because it makes sense exactly like you said.
Yeah.
You're taking a bird's eye view. I started doing something last year. I started to get the, well, I didn't start, I got it. I'm certified as a hypnotherapist,
Right, yes.
a past life regression. And I thought that that was kind of the trajectory of where we were going to take the business, how I could incorporate that. And no, it just, in short, no, it's not, it doesn't resonate with me anymore. It doesn't feel right. I did a couple sessions that really, it opened my eyes. And I think the beauty of this is now, as my awareness has grown, as my consciousness has grown, and I'm constantly asking to be put back on the right path to get me to the highest timeline, my guides, my higher self are taking me off the path that's either a roundabout way or not the shortest way to get there.
The path that you thought was maybe the right path.
Yeah, where I feel like it took years before and trying to figure out. It was like, it was shown to me pretty quickly within several months that this is not the path for me to go down. And it's so beautiful. I'm not angry at it. It's like, I'm so grateful for it. And it's not, I do not feel like it was a waste of time because I can still do it. I am certified and I've done it for you. And it's like, that's been really beneficial.
I benefited from it. You benefited from those sessions like that. That wasn't a wasted time, a wasted effort. I wanted to add that.
Yeah, not at all. Not at all.
I also think it's hilarious when we do almost try to control the little things in life and we assume we know that something's good or something's bad. And then when you have the opportunity to look back on it, your whole perspective is different because you see more of the picture. You don't see the whole picture, but you see more of it, and usually enough to realize that in that moment you had no idea.
Yeah.
So I just think it's funny that we think there's this specific path we have to be on, and a lot of times that comes with a lot of regret and sort of the what ifs and I should have done this, I could have done this, and I didn't. And I think with enough reflection and kind of introspection, I've realized that's a huge waste of time because you couldn't have done it differently. You shouldn't have done it differently. You did exactly what needed to be done in that time, and it all works out. And leaning into that a lot lately.
Yeah.
Everything's exactly what it's supposed to be, even though it's not what I thought it was, or even what I think it is now. And I'll find out at some point down the road that what I'm thinking right now probably isn't what it is, but it's on the path towards something bigger and better.
Yeah, that's exciting.
Yeah.
How would you like to do this? Do you want to do, you go first and then I go? Do you want me to go and then you? Do you want to do one and one? How many intentions did you set for yourself? I have 3.
I have 5.
Okay.
Some of them I can kind of go through quickly.
Yeah.
Let's go back and forth a little bit because I want to talk about some of that. There's 4 of them are the same as last year, and it's more of I have clarity around them, and I want to enhance. So I want to talk about those. I've got another one, and then I think that there'll probably be some interwoven. So
okay,
I want to start kind of with what I was talking about, and it's a lot of these things we think that they're one thing in the moment, or as time goes on, you realize that it's something different. And with the idea of setting intentions, I was really kind of awoken to the power of intentions lately over the past couple months as I was reflecting on the intentions that I had set and how they've kind of played out, even though I didn't necessarily realize how much at the time. So I want to almost tell a little story, and then we can get back to some of the other, I'm going to go back to see where it goes. But the first intention that I had set last year going into the year was that I was going to master my own thoughts. Really big. I'm really big on sort of the idea, our thoughts are what are creating our reality. The inner dialogue that we have, the things that are playing out in our mind are what are being projected out into the world. So I thought it would be really important if I could focus on kind of like taking a little bit more control over the thoughts that I choose to entertain and the thoughts that I like dwell on. Because I have like in the past, I have struggled with maybe like dwelling too much on negative thoughts and a negative inner dialogue of like beating up on myself or just like having arguments with people in my head. Or those kind of things where you just like completely wasted time and energy, and not only wasted energy, but you're literally creating negative patterns in your life that you're going to have to deal with down the road because those things are being projected out into our reality. So I would say I did very well with taking more control over the way I think and the way I talk to myself. Paid a lot more attention. I brought a lot of awareness to it. And we had a recap episode on me a couple of weeks ago, and I talked about how I had gotten better at this very thing. And then I had like a series of like 4 days in a row where I got like a little bit of clarity and a little bit of clarity and a little bit of clarity. And on December 30th, I was laying in bed and I caught myself having like, there was just like a dialogue. So I don't know if people can relate to this, or I don't know if you can relate to this, where I will sometimes catch myself, and it's usually like right before I fall asleep, where there's like a dialogue going on in my head, and I don't realize it. I'm not paying attention to it. And then I'll be like, wait, what is this conversation? And I don't know what it is. But it seems like maybe it's negative, or maybe it's like a little combative, or there's some sort of resistance happening. But there'll be, and it's weird, and it happens a lot. It probably happens more often when I'm like a little bit high going to bed. I have like edibles and some THC, and then I'm laying in bed, and I'll just be laying there, and I'll be in a conversation, but I'm not paying any attention to it. So it's almost like probably somewhere in between a dream and being awake, where like my conscious mind isn't there, but I'm like subconsciously having a discussion with myself subconsciously, and I'll just be like, "What was that?" But I'll sometimes be like a little bit angry, or I'll feel some sort of emotion. Wait, what's happening? What am I talking to? What's happening? And I'll be lost in it. And I caught myself doing it again on that night, but I forget what it was, but I started kind of paying attention to and like going down like almost like the path of listening to myself talk. And then I stopped myself, and I was like, I realized that like by having this moment where I realized that there was a subconscious dialogue going on in my mind, I realized that I do get caught up in thinking, and I believe my thoughts. So basically, like, that was a long way of saying that I came to the realization that I still believe my own thoughts.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Yeah.
So like,
yeah. I don't know exactly what you're talking about. That's not typically the dialogue that I have.
It's probably a little weird that like there's a dialogue that I'm not paying attention to. Maybe is unusual, but
maybe. I typically kind of remember what I'm thinking about as I sleep, because it is either what I need to do tomorrow or replaying the day. I do catch myself a lot of having really negative thoughts and dialogues that I'll make up as scenarios of things and situations that literally do not happen, have not happened, would not happen during the day. And I have been able to finally identify that and release it. I don't stop it anymore like I used to, because I felt when I used to stop those kind of thoughts, I was resisting it, and what you resist persists. So I kind of just let my crazy mind think of this insane scenario, and a part of me that's coming from a wounded part of me. It's coming from a trauma. So I do not shun it like I used to. I actually was journaling about this the other day, because I was like, oh my gosh, am I shutting off like my inner child or inner teen, which I have been told my whole life, like, stop it. You can't think this way. You have to be good. And I was like, oh my gosh, am I doing this to my inner teens and inner children? Like, so I've allowed those thoughts to come so that I can let them go and just honestly give it love, like feel the frequency of love. Like, all right, this is a little bit silly, but I understand where you're coming from in this thing. So it's a little bit different, but I don't think you're crazy.
Right. Oh yeah, I didn't think you would think I was crazy. But I just think it's like really, really cool the way that it worked out. And I was journaling about it where it was specifically like it was like December 30th, it's like the end of the year. And it was like, no, there's one more really important lesson you need to get about learning to master your thoughts. And that's like, stop fucking believing them. Just because you think something doesn't mean it's true. But sometimes just assume that because I'm thinking something, it must be true, and I'll spend more time thinking about it rather than just be like, oh, what a funny thought, and just letting it go. Let me share a little bit. Like I said, so I had this sequence of, so it was each day I had read and listened to something that I was like jumped out to me, like, okay, this is kind of important, but I didn't really know why or how it fit into the big picture until I realized that night that I was like, oh, I still believe my own thoughts. So it was on the 28th, I had thought about and then like looked up a lecture from David Hawkins where he talks about the willingness to be honest with ourselves. And he was saying like the willingness to be honest, especially with myself, is the only path. It's like this prerequisite to spiritual development, because it is impossible to know yourself if you're still hiding things from yourself or lying to yourself. Yeah. And I think that we all, especially subconsciously, but on some level, lie to ourselves, or just like we don't admit things, especially to ourselves. So it's like, okay, this is really important. Like, it's definitely something I want to like pay more attention to. Like, am I willing to be honest with myself about everything all the time? So I was like, okay, I kind of like set the intention, like I'm going to start being more honest with myself, wherever that takes me. Then the next day I had read, or I was watching a video where he was talking about some teachings from Neville Goddard and his guru, Abdullah. They were just talking about like inner dialogue and the way that the inner dialogue, we literally constantly, when like all day long, we have a dialogue going on in our head. And that dialogue is what's creating our reality. It's all subconscious. We don't pay attention to it. And that these things are happening, and like we forget that we had this conversation in our mind. And then like a day later, a year later, whenever it is, that exact thing plays out in our reality. And we're like, oh, like this random thing, this happened because of this and this and this. And we like make up a story about it. And we forget that we created it. So that was the second one. And then the third one I was listening to on December 30th, I was listening to a podcast with Robert Gilbert, and he was talking about sort of the path to opening up our heart chakra. And he said the big thing is to observe and direct our thoughts, our feelings, and our will.
Okay.
Which is literally like, this is the intention that I had set at the start of last year, was I'm going to like master my thoughts. I'm going to observe my thoughts. I'm going to direct them where I want them. And then I wasn't following through on that, because obviously I was having a conversation in my mind that I wasn't even like privy to. Mm-hmm. Like there's this thing going on. So it's like, okay, if I'm willing to be honest with myself, then I'm going to realize that I have this inner dialogue. I'm not observing it. I'm not directing it. I'm not controlling it. I'm just letting it master my life.
I think that's what I'm doing. You're going to watch this.
Yes. So it's like these three things in 3 days in a row, like screeching in at the end of the year, just to be like, no, you're not turning the page on this calendar until you've gotten this lesson, because you set the intention that you're going to master your thoughts, and this is what it means. Wow. So that's where I'm at right now. It's like, okay, thank you, because now I can go into the year with the intention of like, now I'm going to take the next step in mastering my thoughts, because I'm going to observe every thought and I'm going to direct every thought. And it's like, if a thought comes in that I don't want to entertain, I'm not going to. I'm just going to change it. I'm going to let it go. I'm going to just wait for the next one. I'm going to create whatever it takes. I'm going to direct my inner dialogue and my thoughts.
I definitely need to watch these videos.
Yeah, I will share those with you. The one other thing I want to add, I actually wrote down the number, but we have 60,000 thoughts a day.
Okay.
365 days a year.
Oh my God.
Which is 21.9 million thoughts a year.
Oh my God.
So if we're not paying attention and we're not like observing and directing our thoughts, that's 21.9 million things that are controlling our life that we have no say over.
Wow.
So by flipping that over and like taking control, like I can control and observe 21.9 million thoughts this year.
Wow. So
that's a big shift, and I'm excited. So my first intention is to master my thoughts, and carry that further to like observe and direct my thoughts, my feelings, which is all very closely connected. Like also like when I feel something, when I'm like, oh, there's like a tension in my chest, or something's achy, something doesn't feel right. Paying attention to that and not having like a 3-day stretch of like something doesn't feel right, but being like in this moment, stop, connect, what's going on, what am I feeling, why am I feeling it, feel it, and then let it go. And getting ahead of that kind of stuff, and then doing different, whether it's fascial maneuvers or like different modalities, meditation, breathing, whatever kinds of modalities I need to do to move these things and kind of continue letting go. That's going to be what I'm going to do in real time every day for 365 days. So that's where we're going with that one.
Amazing. Okay. You want me to go?
Actually, I just want to say that the second one is to own my language, which is very similar. So I'm just going to tie it into that.
Yeah.
Where it's also like the words that I use and how I speak. I did better this year. We've eliminated to an extent some words and styles of speaking. My goal this year is to just like be radically positive with the way I talk, to speak success into myself and others, and to just not allow my words to have a negative impact on anything, myself or the people around me, family, community, business, whatever it is.
Yeah.
So I just wanted to, I think it's very similar because there's a lot of observing and directing at the same time. It's very closely related. So I wanted to just tie those in, and now you are free to go. You can share one of your intentions.
This was actually going to be like the third intention that I brought up, but I'll just bring it up now because you touched upon it. And the intention that I'm setting is, there's intentions within intentions. It's kind of funny, kind of just as you're speaking about.
Parenting can be stressful and even overwhelming, especially if you have an overly sensitive child. What if there was a way to better understand, guide, and nurture your child's unique sensitivity and emotional intelligence to set them up for success on their developmental journey? Rooted Rhythm's signature course, Tuned In, offers a transformational process for parents of highly sensitive, super feeling, wise, and empathetic children. Dan and I don't have children of our own, but we were both highly sensitive children growing up, and we know firsthand how difficult it can be to feel and process emotions in a productive and constructive way at such a young age. Recently, having gone through the Tuned In course, we both took away so much valuable information and practical tools we could utilize to reparent ourselves and to understand how to better use our sensitive nature to deepen our connection to ourselves as well as the world around us. The Tuned In course teaches parents concrete skills to meet their sensitive kids' needs in moments of intensity, increases their ability to connect deeply with their children, and supports a process of inner healing to shift how they relate to parenting. Each module offers unique grounding and embodiment meditations, lectures full of both evidence-based and practical content, and supplementary exercises to support in the implementation of new skills. Parents who have taken this course report walking away from the experience feeling relaxed in their being and confident to parent their children in a way that both feels most true to them as a parent, as well as most supportive for their children. If this resonates with you as a parent or simply for yourself, we are excited to offer our listeners $100 off of this transformational course. Click the link in our show notes, which goes directly to the Rooted Rhythm Tuned In course website, and enter the discount code DEEPLIFE, all one word, to receive $100 off of the Tuned In course.
Continuing to heal my nervous system.
Okay.
Which to me means to feel more. Feel everything. So exactly as you just mentioned, feeling where in my body something's happening. And I had a revelation a few months back in the fall. I'm pretty confident we've talked about this on the podcast, and we're going to continue talking about it because it's not uncommon the more people I speak to about it. And we're actually I'm going to tape an episode with a guest about this. But I realized in my 36 years on this planet, I never wanted to feel anything. I never wanted to feel emotions. I never wanted to feel material things, like nothing. But I don't think I intentionally meant to do that. I think I'm not an expert on this. That's why we're going to have people talking about it. That I'm not sure where this came from. I'm confident to say that it happened at a very young age and just has continued on throughout the decades. Yeah. But I think as I'm beginning to heal and sit with my thoughts, sit with other things, be uncomfortable, like going into really hot saunas or really cold ice bath, like you're forced to feel in these instances. And I didn't realize that, like, oh, wait a minute, all of these benefits that Dan is always talking about, that everybody are always talking about, like that it's healing the depression, that it's healing anxiety, that it's healing your nervous system, even though those 3, 5, 10 minutes are excruciatingly uncomfortable. I'm reaping the benefits of them now. And it's like, oh my gosh, I am so grateful for this journey, this wellness journey that we've been on for a decade. And again, it's really allowing myself the grace and the patience to undo these patterns that have ruled my life for so long that I didn't know were there. It's just, I'm uncovering them, and it's like, okay, it's like, all right. And then I allow myself more grace and patience to integrate those things. But the integration, I say integration because this is also something that I'm learning, is integration has been something Dan and I have worked on for so long, but have not mastered. And I think that, I don't know if we're missing this, if our level of consciousness is now just aware of how, or we're being presented with the people and the opportunities to understand integration at a higher level. But I've been speaking to a lot of people about integration, and every person is telling me and explaining integration must be felt. It cannot be thought about and processed through the mind. The mind is your ego. It's the illusion of separation. It is going to trick you into a false belief that you've integrated a lesson if you haven't fully felt it. A lesson comes, a situation comes, anything comes, a trigger comes. A trigger is huge. A trigger is a huge learning opportunity. And when that trigger arises, where do you feel it in your body? That's the goal. That's where you need to lean into. But I didn't even know that I didn't even know I was feeling a trigger in my body because I didn't know how to feel. So it's like,
you're disconnected.
Exactly. There is such, my nervous system. That's why I said my intention is to continue to heal my nervous system, because I didn't realize how much stress I put on my nervous system, that it wasn't helping me. It was just like, it was just there. It was keeping me in survival, like that fight or flight. It wasn't allowing me to feel what I needed to.
It's what the body will, like, the nervous system essentially is your subconscious mind.
Exactly.
And like your body, your fascia and your nervous system are also interconnected. It's your brain, it all spread out through your body. And its job is to keep you alive, or to keep itself alive, basically. Like, and it stores trauma and negative experiences and things that we don't want to deal with or that we're not prepared to deal with. And they get stored in our body and they cause problems. It causes physical issues. So your nervous system has to basically balance holding on to this trauma versus staying alive. And it gets to a point where it's like, okay, this is going to cause more physical problem, so you're going to be dealt with. I'm going to give it to you. I'm going to give it to you. And I think that's the triggers that you're talking about. It's like your body is like, I've been holding on to this for so long. Now you're ready. It's time to deal with it. And if that happens and we push it right back down, your body's response is like, well, what do I do? It's either going to be a really painful emotional experience for you, or it's going to be a painful physical experience. I don't know what to do. And we get kind of stuck. And I think most people end up just pushing it down, and it just keeps on manifesting as physical pain and disease. And then that disease, like, oh, what a coincidence. I dealt with this thing and I dealt with this thing and I get another. I'm like, I have such bad luck. I'm always getting sick. But it's the inability to deal with the things because it keeps trying to give it to us and we're pushing it down because we don't want to feel it. So I think it's like really, really powerful to be in a place where you're ready to heal that and also kind of looking for it.
Yes.
Where you're like, I know this stuff's in there, so like give it to me. I'm ready. And that's got to be so liberating for your body and for your nervous system.
Mm-hmm.
So that as more things get sorted out and cleared and released, like everything's just going to work better and flow better and deal with the next thing better. Yeah, I think that's awesome.
Yeah. And to just wrap up the feeling intention, because now that I am understanding how to feel, like what feels good, what doesn't feel good, what may feel uncomfortable, but tapping into why that feels uncomfortable. This year, I'm only doing things that feel good. If it's not a hell yes, it's a hell no. I am still a recovering people pleaser. Unfortunately, that has been an intention that I've set for many years to release, and I'm getting better. I'm working on it, but this is the year that I am going to be so unbelievably selfish in the way that my body needs it. Like I am sick of doing things just because it feels okay or fine or what I'm supposed to do, or I don't want to let this person down, or if I don't hang out with this person, we're going to have to next week. So let's just get it. Like, no, I am standing my ground, like very much anything that feels good, like buying new clothes because it makes me feel better. I was saying, Dan, I know this sounds silly, but I don't love the mugs at my mother's house. Like I need to go find the perfect mug that I get so excited to have my cup of morning coffee. But like, that's what I'm talking about. Like this feels good. And I'm not just settling like, oh yeah, it's fine. Like that's just reinforcing the low self-worth that I've placed upon myself. It's like, no, I am a different person and I deserve to feel good in every moment. Now, I'm not saying that I am pushing away uncomfortable emotions or pain or sadness. I am no stranger to that from what I went through last year. Anybody who's listened to the podcast knows I'm not shying away from that. I honor uncomfortable feelings and pain and sad. I'm not pushing that away. I'll take it on when I need to. But, like I was saying, if something, business wise is scary, or conversation that's going to maybe be uncomfortable, like I'm going to step into my power and do it so that I can feel and experience what that feels like, so that I am able to tell myself and my body and my nervous system, it's okay.
Yeah.
We can get through this. We did. And the more I reinforce that, the more I put love into that, it's going to, again, continue to help me heal faster.
Yeah. And it's like setting the intention to like level up is going to cause life to present uncomfortable situations.
Yeah.
So embracing that and being like, so I actually want to like kind of piggyback on your thing with two of mine, because it's take action every time I feel inspired and enjoy the game. And I think that they're both very closely related to exactly what you just said. So I think like with the idea of like, if you're trying to get better at something, whether it's just living or if it's business or if it's like in order to get better, there's going to be like friction. There's going to be challenges, and there's going to be things that need to be overcome. So taking those things like head on, but enjoying the game. Like this is the game. This is the next level. Like this is like a fun challenge. That's not doing things that bring you joy.
Right.
It's doing the things that bring you joy, as opposed to like settling and being like, yeah, I'm just gonna do whatever presents itself. And it is like the opposite. It's like, I'm not gonna do the things that are uncomfortable. I'm just gonna like be fine like this. Like that's the opposite. That's not doing the things that bring joy. And I think it's also like, it's different than like sort of like this hedonistic, just all I'm gonna do is like the things that feel good. It's not that either. But it's like, I'm not gonna wear clothes that don't make me feel great. Like that's a huge, powerful step. Or it's like just putting on jewelry or putting on like things that make, or like a whatever it is that like gets you excited, even if we're just going to the grocery store. Walking out of the house and you're like just feeling great.
Yes.
Is a choice. And it's within your power every day. Everybody has something that they could put on that would make them feel like a better version of themselves. So that's a choice. And then I think to take it one step further is like, you can also start throwing away the clothes that don't make you feel that way, and not ever being like, oh, well, it's just like a Thursday afternoon. Like I'm going to wear sweatpants and like some old shirt. You can wear anything you want anytime. There's literally no rules. That's what I mean by like enjoy the game. Just like we're in like this unbelievable game, and we get to choose every moment of it. We get to create our own life, create our challenges, create our path, like create who we want to be, and then be it. So why would I choose like a boring character who doesn't like his life? So I'm with you on that. I think let's do more stuff that's awesome.
Yeah.
And let's have tons of fun doing it. And then, like I said, like take action every time I feel inspired. I tie into that because just like I said, where when we set an intention that like there's something that we want, there's going to be challenges along the way, but there's also going to be desire and inspiration, because that's the way the universe works. Like if I want to build my business bigger, I'm going to feel motivation and inspiration along the way to like, oh, why don't we like make this Instagram reel or this YouTube video or offer this? That is my higher self dropping cookie crumbs to like, you want it? This is it. Like follow that inspiration. So if I can do those things and not worry about the outcome, just like do an awesome job at the thing I'm excited to do that day, I feel like everything's going to take off, because in my experience, that's how it works.
Yeah.
So that's another part of just like doing things that make me feel awesome. Is like, it feels good to work in this way, or to present myself in this way, or to share this thing. So that's what I'm going to do. And I'm going to do it as good as I can. And I'm going to have fun doing it. And I'm going to like hunt joy. And that's the year. I'm so excited for what happens if every single day I observe and direct my thoughts, my feelings, my will, and I like hunt joy, and I seek out the things that get me super excited.
Yeah.
And just see where it goes. So I'm excited that we're on the same page about that.
I'm excited that it's going to unfold beautifully.
Yeah.
And if it doesn't, then we're just going to reconnect.
If we're going back to how we started this, it comes full circle. If it doesn't work out the way we think it is, it's probably working out in a better way.
Sure.
That we just don't even know about. So I'm also open to learning that I'm completely wrong, and that if I'm honest with myself, I can do that.
Oh my gosh.
So
Yeah.
it's going to be cool.
That's great.
Do you have another one you want to jump to?
Yes, I can kind of wrap up here, because it's the two other intentions that I have kind of go very similarly again as well. This year, for sure, I am setting the intention to let go, and let go specifically of the caregiver role that I have pretty much taken on my whole life, but more so over the past like 18 months. And just really like even in our relationship, it has come up so much recently throughout this process, and especially in Costa Rica. So the reason why I said it's kind of twofold here is, so I'm letting go of this caregiver role, because while I was in my one-on-one session with the gentleman who hosted the retreat, Jesse Warner, he is no stranger to the show. He's been twice before. He's amazing. Reiki master, acupuncturist, sound healer. I mean, Kujikiri master, just everything. So within the one-on-one session that I was having, he was doing all of these things. And he said to me, your left side, which is your feminine side, the receiving side, is empty. There's nothing there. Your right side, which is the masculine side, which gives the doer kind of go, go, go. He's like, it's full. It's tapped out. Like you are so out of alignment, so off balance. Like you've got to fix this. And I was just like, well, I feel it. I get it. So to go along with the letting go of the caretaker role, like that is a part of me that does need to be let go of. And in turn, once that is let go of, I am intending on working on receiving, tapping into more of my feminine, which I know has to do with like opening my heart and feeling more the emotionals. Like that's what it is. So it's already happening. I feel it. But I've never been someone who feels comfortable receiving anything. Never mind like a compliment or receiving money. Like I've always felt so awkward about people paying for our service. Like even when people give me money, I'm like, I do take it, of course, but it's like, it makes me feel uncomfortable. So I know that feeling of uncomfortability is probably blocking a lot more of abundance and money coming to me, because there's I don't know, like resistance. And it's like, well, if you're giving this to me, I've got to give something to you. It's like, how can I receive without giving anything? It's something I'm going to work on. So that's like letting go of the caretaker. I have to, like I said, I am going to be very selfish in what I do, how I act, where I put my energy, how I throw love just into myself, giving me what I need first, because my cup is empty. And if my cup's empty, I am resenting doing things for other, like I'm doing them, but it's not making me feel good. So I must pour into myself. I must give and receive what I need to receive first. And then I'll be able to beautifully help others around. And I'm starting to do it. I'm making Dan like put this away. Like instead of just doing it myself, like I'm going to just be more vocal. And again, it kind of goes along with this people please, like I'll just do it. Like then I'll get the praise for doing it, which I never get the praise for doing it anyways. I just do it. So again, it's like this resentment that's been building up that I need to let go of. It's standing in my power. Like I don't and cannot do it all anymore. I just can't. It's been shown to me that I can't. So I'm going to be working on those two things.
It's good. I think that's a good. I'm excited for you for that. For you.
Are you? Or are you like shit?
I'm gonna have to do more stuff. Put more stuff
no,
away.
It's not. It's that's just a silly examples of it.
I'm excited to support you in that and do more. My fifth and final intention, at least for this show, is going to be to master my attention. So this one is kind of centered around focus. And I've talked a little bit about this on the show a few times. I've been trying to pay a lot of attention to exactly where my focus is, how present am I, who am I being, how am I showing up in every moment. I want to get really good at this. And also, which I think goes along with focus, is being really clear about what I want.
Yeah. Oh,
even
yes.
Like
the universe loves specifics.
Yeah. Too. And that's what I think that we're talking about the subconscious mind before as sort of it's your body, it's your nervous system, it's your fascia, it's like, and it's like the storehouse of everything.
Mm-hmm.
But it's also like it's what's doing it. Like your subconscious is what's beating your heart, it's what's causing you to breathe, it's pumping blood, it's lymph, it's like all these things are happening. But it's also, like I was saying before, it's what's creating your reality. Like we have these like inner dialogue, we have beliefs and values, and the intentions that we set are then being projected to us in this game of reality. But if you're not clear on what those intentions are, and it's changing from day to day, and I think that's something that's been a problem for me for a long time, is like one day I'll be like, yeah, this is exactly what I want, but then the next day it's like, ooh, actually I would do that, or I'd kind of settle for either. And it's like being in that sort of like indecisive, but also just like doubting myself was a big part of it too. I used to doubt myself all the time, so I'd like want something, set the intention of that thing, but then I'd start to like question it and like, maybe that wouldn't be best for me. Maybe I need something, and sending these mixed messages. So I feel like I've never been able to fully like manifest a life that's in alignment with who I really am because I wasn't clear about who I really am. So
I know, is that crazy?
With the clarity of who I am, who I'm becoming, what my intentions are, is going to be making sure I stay focused on those and not waver from day to day, not show up as one person one day and another the next, but just like be super consistent. So these things they're all very like closely intertwined. It's the way I'm thinking, the way I'm talking to myself, the way I'm showing up in the world, what I'm doing. Am I enjoying myself, and am I focused? But I think if I can do all those things, if I can focus on those other four intentions, like everything else is going to fall into place. And I'll be able to just have so much more clarity around the life that I want and have.
That's awesome. I agree. Oh gosh, that's a good one. And maybe I will begin working on that too. I could not agree more. We've done that within our life and business. It's like, well, this could be this, this could be that, well, it could be that. And it's like, I think we just didn't know what we wanted. Again, it's like we're clearer, we have a better understanding, better feeling about it. And we've been shown what hasn't worked. Right. So it's also like a blessing in disguise, not even in disguise. It is a blessing being shown, oh, this didn't work. Okay, that really wasn't for us. So
I'm really excited about that. And they're all very closely related to like the clarity I've had lately, especially since coming home from Costa Rica and we were there. But like, I feel like everything is making so much more sense for me now. And I'm realizing even some of the things I've always said, I'm realizing how true they are and how things actually work. So I want to lean into that and just more and more and like focus on creating more of the same and more of this trajectory of growth and peace and like joy. I said, keep hunting joy.
And integrating it all.
Yeah.
No, go ahead.
I want to say, because when you mentioned like integration before, something that might be helpful to people is that I think a big reason that I struggled with integrating things is that I wasn't confident in myself. So there's a lot of self-doubt and there was a lot of belief that I need to like acquire the next thing. So even with like ideas and concepts, it would be like I'd read a book and like, oh my god, that book was life-changing. What's the next book I can do? Rather than like focus. If you read one book a year and really focus on it and use it and integrate it, it's better than reading 24 books a year or like listening to books on Audible at like double speed so you can finish it, but not actually remembering it. By the time you get to the next book, you don't even remember it. So for me, for me, a big problem has been that I didn't feel like I was good enough. So I constantly needed to keep seeking the next thing, but I didn't take time to integrate it. So I think if people are in a similar situation, slowing down and focusing. That's why focus is one of my intentions on one thing and getting it and getting good at it and really understanding it and letting it change you before moving on to the next thing, rather than just like trying to acquire and like impress people with how many books you read or how many podcasts you listen to or whatever it is. Like, who cares? If you're not different because of it, who cares? And that comes back, I think, to being honest with myself. So it's like these stories, like these lessons are all so strong, but I think that's really helpful.
I think so too. I think that, well, I meant to read this because it was a journal entry that I had made months ago about integration. And again, like I was preparing for the episode. I was looking through my journal. I opened it to this page. And I was like, it's kind of like, oh my God.
It's like it's like we're so focused on all the distractions that we miss that it's right there in front of our face, the exact thing that we asked for. Or
I was going to say, or we create distractions. So my point is like, okay, so I wrote this down. It must have been in September. I don't have a date at the top here. But the episode, oh no, it's from October, excuse me. October 4th. So, okay. The top of the page, it's kind of all over the place. If you guys have listened to the podcast before, like I have said many times that I do believe I am channeling my higher self, writing down things. And I'm able to, like, I'll just ask questions and then we can just answer them. But the top of it says, life happens when you least expect it. Then you get mad at it because it threw something unexpected at you. And it's like, shit. Yeah. I think that we were just returning back from Colorado when this happened. So I was very much still in the midst of the pain and grief of losing my cousin, and honestly, like mad at life. Like, what the fuck? I had already been thrown so much. Like, why are you getting me too? So then down kind of at the bottom here is, I wrote this, but I do feel it was channeled. When you feel it, you integrate it. It's like it was there, and I feel like I didn't realize it until just speaking to like an integration coach like 3 weeks ago. And when you feel it, you integrate it. Feeling is human. Your nervous system dictates your life. When you feel anxious about something, it's your body's way of telling you something. You feel sad and want to cry, it's your body telling you something. You feel angry, it's your body telling you something. But what most of us do is ignore these feelings. We take pills for anxiety, we hold back tears not to feel weak, and anger is met with punishment. We create distractions to not feel. Welcome to my life. I mean, 100%. I didn't even know that. Like, who would have thought? I was texting actually with one of the girls that we went to Costa Rica with earlier, and I was just saying, like, we were talking about feeling as humans. Like, never once did I think that part of this game, part of this mysterious reality that we're living in, is to just feel. It's like so simple, but it's like, wait.
That's like I'm saying, like, it's like this idea that we need to keep searching for like this secret thing that's out there, and like, oh, the next book, the next modality, the next practice. Or you can just sit there and be a human and like feel shit.
Okay. And then just lastly, kind of wrapping up, because as I started the podcast saying, I did really good on some of my intentions last year, but not so great on other ones. And I think everybody else will kind of resonate with not being able to follow through with some things if they get caught in the loop of destructive behaviors or trauma or any type of pattern that's keeping you stuck. It's not a bad thing. It is your nervous system being like, wait, I'm used to this. I'm trying to give you something, but you're just not knowing how to handle it. So, patterns. The patterns you fall back into are helping you evolve. You recognize them now, right? With a question mark. Again, I think it's again myself, like talking to myself. You recognize when something feels inconsistent. You need outside influence to, quote unquote, help you feel better. But you really don't. You don't need anything outside of you. This you already know. This too shall pass is real. The feeling will pass. Don't let them take over. Notice, observe, and change them. You cannot change what you're unwilling to look at. I felt like that was really powerful. So it's kind of exactly like you said. You have to be honest. If you just be honest with shit. Okay, I've fallen back. didn't go to the gym, like I said, I was going to the gym.
Yeah.
It's just always the
It's
easy
just a good
example.
resolution.
But it's like, it's okay.
Yeah.
Just recognize it, show that part of yourself, like love, and build the momentum on, moving forward.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, I just want to say, like, that's to like kind of jump onto that point. It's like, if you decide that this is useful and you want to set intentions for the year instead of resolutions, it's a great idea to even just like once a month, just kind of check in on them and be like, oh, I remember I set that intention.
Mm.
Has that come up for me at all?
Yeah.
Because maybe you can save yourself some time. You won't have to be like scrambling to get these lessons on December 30th like I did.
Same, I did that last year too. I looked at it back and I was like, oh yeah, I forgot about this.
Yeah,
It's
but even like, just like you said, like these are kind of, these ideas are just already in your journal. You're just like missing them sometimes. And I know I do the same thing. So maybe just kind of checking in and paying attention to how your intentions are creating your reality, whether you remember or forget or pay attention to it or not, like checking in and seeing.
And then I want to end with a one-liner that was in the middle of these things, which I think is just perfect. And I think goes right along with what one of my intentions is. Brighten your own day by doing something you love.